Just watch me, mouse. Just watch me catch you. Just watch me, mouse. Just watch me catch you, catch you, catch you. All I wanna do is impress you with my mouse trap. All I wanna do is convince you with my cheese. All I wanna do is be the coolest cat here. But I'll need some more super burrito. But I need some more super burrito. But I need some more super burrito.
Hello, Mouse Hunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. My name's Dave. It is, what day is it today? It's May 14, 2021. Yes, 2021. Had to struggle for the year there for a second. Hello, everybody in the chat. Hope you're all doing well. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are in the world. Hello, hello. Yono sending love from the Philippines. Well, love right back at ya. As if yelling Ronza, Maki. Running cheese. Well, hello to you. Generic potato, as if Ryan. Hello, hello. The generic potato. Good morning to you as well, Ben Tarako. Saying good morning. Swift, hello, hello. And a hope-filled day says hi, Dave. Well, that's just the most positive name I've read in quite some time. KDM, hello, hello. Mudkip fan, Monica, Kevin, Ryan. Many hunters joining us today. Well, right off the bat, too, if you haven't seen kind of the wall posts kicking around or other announcements circulating here and there, a reminder that May 25 is when the King's Giveaway will launch. So there'll be another King's Giveaway coming. That's 2 weeks from now. I'm pretty sure 2 weeks from now. That is on a Tuesday, if I'm not sorely mistaken as well. Poke says, sup Dave, ready up bingo sheet. All right. The old Feedback Friday bingo. Well, today, thought we could get feedback on treasure maps, and most specifically, the elite maps. So in somewhat hard to read text here that I've put over some point form notes here. So we've been looking at re-adding some of those level 9 Oculus mice back to the elite level maps. They were originally added when the Floating Islands was released, but it takes quite a while to level up your Oculus and upgrade it all the way to level 9. So we took them out and we kept getting feedback, well, when or if, should they even be added back to begin with as well? It's another discussion point to consider. But while we're digging into that as well, we also had some kind of feedback logged about just elite maps and the rewards in general, of whether or not they could use a little bit of an improvement. Essentially help them better align their difficulty and rarity with the rewards that you get from the chest. So we're looking to kind of get suggestions, impressions, feedback as well. Grain of salt as well right off the bat here is by no means is this an official announcement of an upcoming update. It is to start a conversation, kind of see what discussions hunters raise in various different groups, forums, Discord, that sort of thing as well. So the nature of a live stream as well. Somebody may join 10 minutes from now and the perception may come across as an announcement, but hopefully you can help steer that back to brainstorming and discussion in amongst the various forums and chat mediums in the game. KDM just caught a mobster recently. Your countdown timer will restart when the giveaway arrives. Is that correct? Interesting little question with the giveaway. I am very confident, fairly confident, that it does not. So your cooldown timer is for you. So I forget what the exact cooldown on a mobster mouse is, but you won't be able to capture another one for a set period of time. The cooldown, there's a global cooldown on prize mice. Meaning once somebody captures, say, a mobster, there's a few minutes go by where no one else is allowed to capture a mobster, kind of paces them out a bit. But then there's an individual user kind of per hunter cooldown as well. That one's much longer for, like, especially the leprechaun, I think is in months. Mudkip says, cool art. These are the existing treasure chests in the game. So the one on the top corner there is the Elite Slayer chest, and the one below is a Rare Relic Hunter chest, which I think has the same image for all the various tiers of difficulty. So a few things to kind of run by here. I see Generic Potato say better rewards ASAP. That was one kind of note as well when we look at, okay, if we're going to increase the rewards of the treasure chests, there's kind of some questions come up about how and when to introduce those. We could wait until the next Relic Hunter season, and at least for the regular Relic Hunter chests, that would feel very natural. They get seasoned every year. The other ones get in parentheses, season 7, season 8, season 6, and so on. So the season 9 chest would just be inherently better than the season 8. Just like the season 8, I think, is probably a little bit better than the season 7, if I'm not mistaken. I think we kind of increased the rewards a little bit there as well. But Slayer maps, they do not get seasoned. They have been, the same for quite some time. So that would have to be a different kind of approach there. Ahmed asks, also Elite Toxic Spill chest. I don't believe so. This is more specifically aimed at the Elite Relic Hunter chest, so the Elite Treasure Chest Season 8, and the Elite Slayer Treasure Chest, and in theory, the Elite Chrome Slayer chest as well, although I don't think those exist in the game, but if they're brought in, they have kind of somewhat parallel rewards to the Slayer maps. Add them when the Sky Palace comes back with bonus rewards, says Tarako there. Diamond Knight says, and the Oculus 9 mice back. That is what prompted the decision. We did kind of earmark that. We were originally going to do it in Lunar New Year, but kind of got mixed feedback on that. So we thought we'd put that in with the Sky Palace. And that's kind of what brought up the discussion, is because that's something we're working on right now. And we got to the task to kind of look over that feedback and try to brainstorm and come up with some decisions. Ryan says, to answer quickly, better rewards anytime, as long as pre-warned, increased but not 100% Slayer scroll. Richard is okay. He's easier than the Paragons, yep. Never allow purchasing of Elite Scrolls. All right, good food for thought. Thomas, does that mean Elite Chrome Slayer is on the horizon? I don't know. This might be outside the scope of this discussion. Maybe I should have brought that up, because I don't think they even exist in the game, to be honest. Swift, think for Relic Hunter maps, increasing difficulty of some of the slots can have less of the less valuable rewards. Or fewer, okay, probably fewer of those other ones. Maki says, why does Fulmina not drop a runny cheese? I think her table is primarily composed of a few regions in and around floating, around the floating islands and Hollow Heights in general. So I don't think her collector claws reach quite that far as the tournament hall. Snowy says, add more ancient charms. You use that a lot in the floating islands, like flowing water. Yeah, that is kind of neat. In the floating islands too, you can upgrade your ancient charms, and so depending on how many you have, it might not make sense to upgrade them all the way up to the best tier every single time. But if you have a lot, you might want to make a few into ultimate ancients or rainbow charms even. But then you might just want to bring them up to supers or extremes. So that's a nice system in that as long as the higher tier ones aren't kind of in massive quantities, then there's always a use if you have excess ancient charms. And so that kind of system seems to have been working out rather well. Reaper says maybe in Elite upgrade the ultimate ancient charm to rainbow instead. That's an interesting suggestion as well. Ben says the current difficulty scale of the chest implies they get harder, but it just means the highest ranked area the mice are from. You'd like to see a ranked named chest instead of easy medium. Yeah, I mean, it's a little subjective, I guess. Inherently, some of the higher level areas also become more difficult, and it might come down to how you define difficulty. Often, MouseHunt being kind of a time-based game, difficulty is in the amount of time it takes to capture a mouse, or the average number of hunts that you're going to have to kind of commit to the hunt in order to get a capture of that mouse on average. And then, there's some doozies up there, but that's not to say in the lower level areas as well. There's like the deep mouse is rather challenging as well. I will say though, the Elite, the way they are set up, and all maps in general as well, there's kind of, think of it of pulling from pools of mice, and I think the labels we use are kind of like easy fodder mice, or mice that don't require any special cheese for the most part, or crafted cheese, that sort of thing. Then there's mid-tier mice. Actually, Fungal Cavern's a perfect example. So like those low-level mice would be the ones that you can use Gouda or Super Brie to attract. And then those mid-tier mice are typically mice that you need a crafted cheese, but not too scarce of a crafted cheese. So think of that like the mice that eat mineral cheese and the gemstone cheese. And then the final tier is kind of main antagonist, or boss mice, if you will. Mice that would be similar to be seen on a Slayer map. So Fungal Cavern comparison, that would be your diamond cheese mice. As the maps go up in difficulty, on average, they pick more of those big, heavy hitter mice and fewer of those quick and easy kind of fodder mice that don't require any sort of special crafted cheese. So in that sense, their difficulty does scale up. Kind of depends though on your own personal kind of experience and expertise. But I would say kind of if a Baron was given a medium map and a Baron was given this is a bad example, but if a hunter was given a medium map or an elite map and told to start from scratch and finish the elite map, it would take significantly longer, even if they had access to all the areas just to collect all the cheese. Also more mice on the map as well. But I'm rambling. Geolink says rib in elite chest. That might be a good segue as well to kind of touch base on one note here. So I had a few point form notes of things we were looking at. Increasing the rewards from elite treasure chests. That was kind of about the points in the gold. Ballpark around 15% was something we were looking at. So just boosting the points in the gold by a little bit. In terms of the Slayer chest, there's bait keeps in there, and the elite adding one more bait keep charm to the elite Slayer chests. That would be doubled up as well, so you get 2 extra if it was a rare. As well as adding one item, one kind of special item to all elite chests. Kind of almost think of it like one extra slot, when you open up a chest and you see all the items side by side or on mobile in a list. So there'd be an additional item from kind of something we're just referring to as an elite drop table, or like a pool of exciting items, if you want to think of it that way. And right now we're workshopping with about 50 different items in varying quantities. And kind of the idea there is to add a distinct and unique reward inside of all the elite chests to help further distinguish them from the other ones. So even an Arduous would kind of lack that one item that was pulled from this elite drop table or elite table of items that are unique to the elite chest. Those bonus items would range from anything from high tier cheese, premium items, kind of epic charms, valuable loot items as well dropped by mice. So things like wildfire cheese, super brie, even like treasure hunting kit or other supply kits. Diamond cheese, shattering charms, ultimate charms, Empyrean jewels, shadow plates, Caloringus's rib, ember charms, time split charms, rare map dust. So if you kind of get this picture of basically an item that usually when you see it pop up, it will stand out and be like, this is very unique. This is something you do not see in other treasure chests. Rate name chests would be clear. Says Final Heart. They don't all quite have a one-to-one comparison or association with a title. I mean, they could be named after the minimum title to obtain the map, but then there's another requirement to be invited. So, for example, the elite maps, you need to be Archduke or Archduchess and above to be able to obtain an elite Relic Hunter map. But then you're allowed to invite anyone all the way down to Knight, because technically the lowest level mice that can possibly appear on the map require the title of Knight, so you can invite a Knight. So I don't know if it would be weird to invite a Knight to something called an Archduke, Archduchess map. But that might be kind of interesting little piece of information to kind of put in the interface as well, just to kind of make that immediately obvious. Jenna says Admiral Cloudbeard is okay. Richard's not a guaranteed attraction on a double loot run. Well, neither would be Admiral Cloudbeard. I think their encounter rates are similar. I would rank Admiral Cloudbeard maybe once you have obviously there's the challenge of leveling up your Oculus to level 9 for Richard, but Admiral Cloudbeard also requires sort of an additional crafted cheese, and kind of I'd almost rank it a little higher than Richard. Rashawn says a absolute Acolyte Platinum box. Any idea? We kind of took a quick little look as a side note, and I think we're kind of leaning towards not adding a platinum box, no. Final Heart, it's not the dev's problem. The Slayer chest has massively dropped in value. Supply and demand. Jason says, yo, hello, Jason Casey. How you doing today? Hart says it would be nice to provide another use for relics, though. Lots of people have more than they can use with maps, it seems like. Definitely, if you've done a lot of the Jade maps, you can certainly accumulate a lot of relics. That might be a nice suggestion for a Relic Hunter season style update. Generic Potato says, talking about rainbows, please buff that chest. They feel useless now. You can buy rainbows, and the King's credits lose a lot of value. Yeah, I mean, it might come down to different players and different titles. We did run some queries to kind of gauge how many ancient charms and rainbow charms a typical high-level hunter has, and it was fairly low. I think the median was like in the, well, I forget. I don't want to completely say an inaccurate number, but I believe it was under 100, the median. So most players don't have a whole lot of rainbow charms. Ben, for elite relic hunter maps, you'd like to see a scaling convertible that got better and better loot each time you opened it, similar to the time chest. That was an interesting little mechanic as well, to kind of plant the seed of inspiration with the Valorif time chest. In a way, they kind of work that way for the limited edition rewards, get more and more likely to appear. Swiss says, I don't think Elite should get too much of a special treatment. Ryan, that sounds good and really worth playing. Danny says, Shattering or Alt within, what do you call the exclamation mark and the question? I feel like that has a special name and punctuation. Again, we're just kind of workshopping. The basic goal of that, adding that one extra unique sort of reward type item to the Elite chest, was to have that something that kind of stands out. And for most people, when you see that item, you would, if you're given the list, you're like, that's the special one that's added to Elites, or something that feels a little extra rewarding. But, still a work in progress, and we're kind of gauging sentiment feedback quite often as well. One of the more kind of productive outcomes of Feedback Friday is then just digging into different posts, different groups on Facebook's message board, Discord, kind of just seeing what conversations pop up and gauging a little bit of sentiment or getting some inspiration as well. Often it'll lead a player to having a really great idea, and then we'll see that, and that'll plant the seed of inspiration to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, sugar, spice, and everything nice, and incorporate it into an idea. But certainly a wide range of items. Kind of the categories, we broke them down into 1 points for a Silver Tome of Wisdom, but that was probably one of the less exciting items. And then kind of powerful charms. You can kind of think of that in terms of your ultimate tiers of charms: ultimate luck, ultimate power, ultimate spore charm, rift ultimate luck charm, that sort of thing. Premium cheese. So typically things that are primarily available in the premium shop, or you have to craft, but they're a little more few and far between. Super Brie being kind of the primary one there, or gilded charms as well. A little bit of an abstraction of Super Brie, but kind of put it under that category. As well as a Super Brie supply pack, so there'd be a way to find a golden shield in the chest. Boss cheese, so kind of that final tier of cheese for a lot of areas. Your diamond cheese, your onyx gorgonzola, that sort of thing. An epic charm, so that's even just the extra tier above, those ones that are almost too good can't use, or you definitely save for a special occasion. Think like time split charm, ember charm, that tier. Premium item, like something like a supply kit, rare map dust, rare nest dust. And then finally kind of boss drops, those kind of rare tradable drops that some mice have. Almost you can think like Fulmina's drop table of assorted different trap loots and what have you. Reaper says, will there be more items added to the King's Cart store or more use for King's credits? That is something we review with every update as well. And he's often at the giveaway. It brings up a discussion of that. As well as Relic Hunter season tends to be a popular time to have those discussions. But at the moment, no immediate plans for new things. Suzanne, the elite maps are significantly more difficult. And I think that MouseHunt should not just drop these scrolls. I think they're a separate category. They should be chosen. Yeah, it's interesting as well, even like a way to kind of downgrade it, or a little bit of an autonomy, especially when it comes to something that is like an above and beyond accomplishment, or challenge rather. Being able to kind of choose to do that is usually creates a little less friction than it being kind of thrust upon you. So it says, I feel like the proposed jackpot slot might be too valuable. Thomas says, maybe Richard could have a chance to drop Sky Palace key entry requirement. I think at the moment we're shying away from the Sky Palace requiring a level 9 Oculus. And actually one of the resources you can get at the Sky Palace is a slightly better source for Sky Ore and Sky Glass as well. So if anything, it'll kind of help you level up your Oculus as well. Jason says, Richard seems harder to me. Well, it definitely takes you longer to get to the point. Definitely going through the floating islands. I think it's usually the last mouse you'll catch, kind of depending on how you went through it. But for me, that was definitely the last mouse that I needed to capture to, once again, have them all. Thomas says, oh, I already read that. Ashley, if rather have big jacks stay around than have any ribs in a map chest. If it skips way too much, that's what the marketplace does anyway. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to kind of supply and demand, but definitely no matter where you're hunting, with the marketplace items, every mouse you capture gives you some gold, and in a way, that's a little piece of a drop you're looking for. KDM says, wait for the Empyrean Empress before buffing the elite maps. Well, at the moment, it was grouped in with the Sky Palace work as well. But looking for feedback on if we do go ahead with increasing rewards, kind of when and how to do that, whether kind of as soon as possible, with the Sky Palace release, some other release, or even waiting for the Relic Hunter season. Interrobang, thank you. Heart, that is the name for an exclamation mark and a question mark beside each other. I guess so. Doc says, how about more jewels and Sky Pirate maps and Richard the Rich? He does technically drop them because he drops the troves. But in the Sky Palace, that will be one of kind of the rewards available there. There'll be an additional tier of treasure trove. So there's the low altitude trove, the high altitude trove, and there will be an Empyrean trove. And that one always has an Empyrean jewel, at least one of them in it. At least at the moment. Ryan, it is true though that slot is very strong, could be balanced with perhaps some less useful loot, like 100 Super Breeze, still substantial, but not the rare stuff. Yeah, it comes down to how often. Obviously, we gravitate, you might gravitate towards the more exciting and rare stuff, but the more exciting and rare stuff would probably also be a little less common on that table as well. But kind of good food for thought. Again, just something we're workshopping. I want to reiterate here, as I said at the start, not an official announcement of an update to come, but something we're playtesting, and always we're interested to kind of see what players start talking about, what suggestions players put forth on different mediums and stuff. Eileen has 1,222 rainbow charms. I'll see if I can even find this. I don't know where this was. I think I don't know if I'm ever going to find it, to be honest. Let's see here. I think I maybe found it. Fewer than 3% of active players have more than 1,000 rainbow charms. So you are in the top 3% of players who happen to have 1,000 or more rainbow charms. I think that also stemmed from a discussion of what qualifies a map as an event map, and some feedback around or suggestions of should the rainbow map be considered an event map. You obtain it from an event, but it doesn't contain event mice. And up until now, that has been the distinguishing factor, is it's an event map if it has event mice, because the mice come and go at some time-based event. And so it's a little bit awkward if you're in the middle of a big, lengthy map, an event pops up, and the only time you can do the map is during the event. That's why that second slot was added. So whereas the rainbow map, you're free to hold on to it, finish the map you're working on, and all those mice will still be around even after the giveaway comes to an end. So it's more about how you obtain the scroll rather than kind of the mice that are on it. Tarko says Onyx Gorgonzola would be a booby prize. Well, that's the fun part too, is everything's subjective, right? If you have 0 pieces of it, it'll feel great. If you have 100, then you might just throw it on the pile. Mites says, you're late to the party. Darn this human requirement for sleep. Good day, Dave. Well, good day to you as well. I'm a little tired myself today. I think I had a bit of a weird dream that woke me up around 4 a.m. And you always have that moment when you wake up, your half-asleep brain takes a second to boot up and realize that it was a dream and convince yourself, no, that wasn't real. Go back to sleep now. Jenneth asks, will the Sky Palace give more chances to get Adorned Empyrean Jewels? Yes, that is one of the design goals or guiding principles of it, is to provide additional use for Cloud Curd, additional use for Cyclone Stones, and an additional source of Empyrean Jewels. Hart, did your query look at rainbows, look at ancients as well? Yes, we've dug into that as well. When we were looking, we did quite the extensive deep dive into that when we were even putting in the ancient charm upgrading system as well. And it was very few people have a ton of ancients. Most people do not have a whole lot of them. Chunk says, I just joined. Is there any mention about 10-player rainbow map? That is coming with the giveaway, so there will be a party size rainbow map. I always got to think, yes, party size map, not party sized. Party size rainbow scroll case, and it has a party size rainbow map that allows for 10 hunters, I'm pretty sure. It's been a while now, but I'm fairly confident the limit there is 10. Tarako has 503, but you're using them in the floating islands. Limbomber has 20. I think I might have close to 0, but well, I don't know. Hart asks, could you do a query to convert them all up into the rainbow equivalents? Yeah, that was kind of the one of the goals as well. We did that deep dive to see kind of theoretically if everyone converted them all up, kind of where would you land? And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the sentiment was that not too many people would be able to go kind of exchange all the way up, which is kind of fits with the design objective of that, is to always have some sort of sync for those. If you feel, much like the wealth charms for a long time, players had more than they could realistically use in a reasonable time span, and so there's always a way to kind of compress them down to use them in a more potent, shorter period of burst, a more reasonable time frame. Jaren says it would be nice to be able to set the highest level, the Relic Hunter map you'd get, or differently pick the difficulty of the chest. That's interesting as well. Kind of a different take on being able to pick the difficulty. Won't lie, it'd be cool if rainbows moved to the event slot. I guess I'm trying to understand the sentiment as well. Kind of what's the underlying motivation, and then kind of, obviously not to go down like slippery slope argument, but it kind of then opens the discussion. Well, what purpose is the multiple map slots facilitating? Right now, it's so that when an event starts and you have a map, you don't have to discard it to do a map that you can only do for 2 to 4 weeks. Whereas something like a Slayer map, should that have its own slot? Relic Hunter maps, should they be in a different slot than like an area-specific map? Kind of, so what's sort of the criteria, and what's the overall kind of objective or functionality or purpose that those slots are trying to fulfill to kind of keep that consistent? One minor complexity, I don't think it would be necessarily a massive deal, but if you could be doing a rainbow map and a Relic Hunter map at the same time, there's a lot of overlap in the types of mice that show up on those maps, so it may create some friction or almost this compulsion to want to be doing them both simultaneously, because you can do those 2 maps in tandem with one another, and it would kind of, in a way, double how fast you could be going through maps. So there's some, complexities. In that particular case, there's not a lot of rainbow scrolls out there, so then they're fairly limited in their supply, so I don't think it would be a huge deal. But when you start applying that to kind of other maps, then even kind of the mental overhead and the cognitive load of having to remember if you're on 5 maps at the same time, you're like, I'm getting a little overwhelmed by this. And when a clue drops, you're like, which map was that one on? It's like you're going grocery shopping at 5 stores at the same time and trying to keep coupons straight. It starts to feel like more than work than a game. Phyllis, you would love to see tougher mice added now. You love to see rewards for elites increased. The hardest maps are your favorites. Slayer scrolls should be increased, but not guaranteed. Eileen says, haha, don't even ask how many ancients I have. But ultimately, that's a good thing as well. If somebody's really into mapping, you do a whole lot of mapping, and you end up with kind of a lot of resources to the point where it's like, well, I don't even know if this is very interesting anymore. I have so many of them. But you don't want to kind of design the consumption of them for sort of that one type of player. Otherwise, it's going to appeal to not very many players or be very accessible. So in some ways, the upgrading system is nice in that regard, where different players will have different sort of tiers where they stop their upgrading process. So some people might go supers, and that's good for me. Others might go, I go all the way up to ultimate ancients. And other hunters might go, I'm going to convert just a few to do something special with, but then I do something else with the other. And ultimately, that's a good sign. It's kind of anytime there is a choice to be made, and different players will make different choices, but they're both correct in the choice that they made, it means it was an interesting one or a situational choice. Neha asks, when is the Sky Palace expected to be released? I don't quite have that firmed up yet, so still a little bit of conceptualization we're working through, and kind of employed the strategy of the best way to get through something is to just start it. So there was a few question marks still even when we got started, but like so often the creative process involves putting something together, maybe not liking parts of it, taking it out, replacing it with something else, and that's just kind of part of the process as well sometimes. Other times, hey, everything just falls into place naturally, and it was like we planned it from the get-go. Danny, any chance of larger map or tournament team size? Would be neat to do maps tournaments with whole teams. Probably in terms of tournament, not till we can somehow have the time and resources to overhaul tournaments. But maps, there are the party size maps, so those are occasionally a larger size map you can take on. Grant, without the charge cycle, you're missing the influx of wealth charms. That was definitely probably an almost gluttonous source of them sometimes. I think that gave rise to the inspiration to have the converting up system. Ben says, how about getting the max rank map for your rank and allow them to be smashed down into easier ones as desired? It might be tough. Again, kind of dig into the details there. Might be tough because from the get-go, the rewards were sort of established with a certain frequency of that coming up. So we'd almost have to take that into account, but it might be easier to incorporate something where they cost different number of relics, because that's sort of an abstraction of their commonality. Is that even a word? I don't think that's a word. Hart says it doesn't make sense for rainbows to be in the event slot. People just want to be able to multitask. That could be the underlying sentiment, is just wanting to be able to do two maps at the same time for twice as fast rewards. Generic potato, just move rainbows to the wanted scroll slot. Snowy suddenly got this imagination that if one flies so high out of fuel and end up falling down into the sea, the sunken city. It will in some ways be a one-way trip, I guess, to the Sky Palace, but your airship can descend. You don't need fuel to come down to a nice, easy landing. Sean says, what is the attraction rate of Richard? I accept he is easy to catch compared to what other players say, but it's difficult to attract. Off the top of my head, I don't know. We'll see. We'll risk it here. We'll tax my computer a little further to open up a spreadsheet. And it's a big one. Floating Islands is not a small spreadsheet. Oh, this one might be kind of hard to even answer, to be honest. Oh yeah, CPU fan is taken off. Computer could start levitating at any moment here. Up to 100. Is that 25%? That doesn't sound right. You know what? It's not immediately obvious to look up, so I won't spread misinformation. Yuck says, rumor about Sky Palace for Paragon's Access Palace. If it's true, it'll be a long way and boring. That's something we're still kind of fine-tuning, the exact means of how you get there. Right now, things feel pretty good once you're there. We're kind of tuning the process of getting there. Ben says, I want to get double map clues from Warmongers, Dave. Thomas, pick a difficulty function would be smash number of scrolls and continue to get level difficulty. Well, it would require each scroll case to have a difficulty associated with it. Whereas right now, the scroll case, you open it up and you don't quite know what you're going to get. That's it. It's a little tedious. It technically exists where you can open it up, and if you don't like that map, you can discard it and open another one and hope for a better one. And so in a way, you're spending your relics to try to get it. It's just you don't quite know when you're going to land it. Tarako says, I'd love to do a rainbow and a pirate at the same time, so I kind of have a break from doing float islands, but understand not being able to. Well, I don't think it means you can't, right? You can finish the map, the pirate map you're on, and then open up a rainbow or another map and do something else for a little bit. It just means you have to finish the map you're on. You can't pause it. Some other suggestions float around. This is a little bit more of kind of Relic Hunter season type feedback, but was a way to kind of temporarily put it back into a scroll case or somehow kind of like pause a map. So it's like, okay, you're not allowed to capture mice on this map. It won't progress, but you could kind of put it on the back burner for a little bit, take a break from it. Ultimately, though, as we explored that idea, it complicated things. Perhaps the complexity it added wasn't worth the value that it provided, if that makes sense. And so ultimately said, nah, keep it simple. Like you got to finish your map or you got to throw it away. But once you finish your map, there's no rule saying you immediately have to go and do another one of those identical maps. If that's not what you're having fun doing, that's the kind of beauty of a large scale open-ended game is you can pick your own goals, and different people will enjoy doing different things. Jonathan says, would it be possible to maybe have some sort of number of map slots and only choose one to be active at a time? That way you can't abuse double clues. Kind of touched on our idea of kind of picking which one you want to be active. We could revisit it again a little bit. I think it was a few Relic Hunter seasons ago that came up. That may have even predated the event slot as well. But like I said, I think the complexities that it added and sort of the cognitive load of managing multiple maps at the same time didn't quite justify the amount of value that it provided in the end. So sometimes kind of simple, keep it simple is the way to go. Yeah, Alex, I dislike lotto mechanics. Maybe some sort of elite token you can exchange for something from the cartographer. Yeah, I don't think it's not too scarce if you're looking for an elite. Let me see here. Oops, that's not the right project. This is going to require I read code though, which is going to maybe be error prone. Searching the word Salite. I don't think that's going to come up. That's not it. Oh, I minimized it. What am I doing? Too many things are open. CPU fan does not like it. That's the Slayer. That's a Chrome. That's a Scavenger Hunt, which is probably the same. So if you're Archduke, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There is a 2 in 14 chance that it will be elite, putting it at 14.3%. So if you open up 10, it's a reasonably high confidence interval that you'll find an elite, but not guaranteed. I wouldn't say exactly like winning the lottery, but having a 1 in 8 or 1 in 9 chance can be a little streaky for sure. Eileen says, life is like a scroll case. You never know what you're gonna get. Marin says, just give us 2-3 map slots. Yeah, I mean, it might be kind of something to explore during Relic Hunter. We kind of think through the pros and cons and the implications of that and the complexities of it. Have to be a different group. Come down to kind of what those groups are. But there's a few little problems arise with being able to work on multiple maps simultaneously. As well as by kind of having something that's, I don't know how to phrase it, I guess ideal. It may also encourage people to feel somewhat compelled to have to do 3 or 4 maps simultaneously. which might be a little bit hectic. There might be kind of maybe other little challenges or something that would be a better fit than trying to do multiple maps simultaneously. Yeah, Limbomber, what if you could cycle active maps? Yeah, again, like I mentioned, we visited that idea a little bit a few years ago, and the conclusion we arrived at, it wasn't worth the complexity for the kind of value it provided. Kind of once the event map awkwardness was solved, ultimately it feels more simple, more straightforward, less complicated to just finish the map you're doing before you start the next one, rather than have kind of a stack of maps that you have finished. There's complexity of what do you do with the other people who are on the map. What if they didn't really want it on pause right now, but the map owner said, I'm putting this map on pause, we'll do it again 2 months from now. I'm like, but I caught all these mice, I want to finish the map, please. So there's added a little bit of friction, some complexities, a lot of rough edges around it. And so when something doesn't feel quite right and it feels complicated, usually you want to simplify it and just make the rules easier, more straightforward. In 59, any reason why the Ellie Relic Hunter bases show up in the mobile map reward previews but not in the site preview? Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. Jewels need to be added to Richard the Rich loot. That would be a boost. They technically are. He drops troves, and there's a chance to get them in troves. Is 2 out of 14 the odds for Elite Slayer as well? Let me see if I can even look that up easily here. Is this a Slayer scroll? Slayer scroll case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is a 1 in 9 chance. 11.1. So no, it's a 1 in 9 chance to receive an Elite Slayer. So they are less common than an Elite Relic Hunter map. Thomas, please no Draconic Trap update in Sky Palace. You just got the DSC, the Dragon Slayer cannon. One day I'll have all the acronyms memorized. Definitely, the reward structure is still kind of firming up a little bit, but at the moment we don't really have any plans to add new traps with it. I don't know if that will change as we play test, but we'll see. I would think probably not Draconic, though. Umli says, Dave, I'm not sure, but I think in a previous Feedback Friday you mentioned soloing maps could give 5 chests as a reward. Could be possible to make or not. That doesn't ring a bell. I don't know if it's quite in the spirit of maps. Maybe actually it came up in sort of the mental gymnastics here of technically, you could do it if you wanted to, or, if you organize some friends, they could... I guess you can't supply transfer the chest, and there's things in the chest that aren't tradable, so no, it's probably not a great idea. I was trying to remember maybe what conversation would have brushed on that slightly. Gene says, I came late, so this may have been mentioned for Floating Islands map. Include the big mice if the person opening the case has a level 9. Yeah, I think maybe there's a rough edge on that where I don't think it's a significant issue, but if it's perceived, hey, if I don't have level 9 Oculus, then the maps are easier, it may introduce this sort of anti-gameplay compulsion of, well, then don't build the upgrade, because your maps are going to get harder, right? So kind of everything needs to feel good as you upgrade, and nothing should feel like, well, because I upgraded, something's more difficult, more annoying, or something changed in a way that I don't want it to change. Hart says, I believe the multiple maps and choosing actives is a more feature for the mapping economy so players can snipe for others more easily. Not sure what the devs think of that whole business. It's neat. I think it plays into, kind of like I said earlier, different things appeal to different players. And that's a good thing, ultimately. And it's kind of an interesting kind of social element to things. From kind of setting up rewards, it has to be at least somewhat in the back of our minds in that anything that's inside of a treasure map chest is technically pseudo-tradable. And so it'll affect some decisions, but it also wouldn't be the guiding principle, if that makes sense. It's the pepper on that. That's a horrible metaphor. But it puts a little pinch of spice in the decision, but it's not the main sort of focus that we have when we're deciding what the reward should be. Ashley, could we have a way to filter maps that are open to request an invite? So from the community map interface there, that was a little bit proof of concept, sort of MVP, if you will, but definitely needs a lot more love. And we were looking for just those types of comments and sentiments to see, one, how much is it getting used? How much are people browsing it? How many suggestions come in about sorting, filtering, searching? We did a little bit of a pass on it, but there's some kind of technical challenges, I believe, with kind of getting it to work in a performant way as well. Some of the map system is a little bit old, and so it needs a little TLC, but that also kind of makes it sometimes hard to build something robust on it. But we're slowly but surely getting there. Limbomber, what if elite maps were optional, where you can exchange your normal map for a different scroll if you're Archduke or above? Yeah, it seems to be coming up a lot as well, some sort of way of opting into it. Ryan, are you able to tell us more about the Floating Island expansion? Also, any info on King's Giveaway? Apart from the 25th of May, new elements apart from Party Rainbows. At the moment, not too much new things to share with the Sky Palace. It's coming together. And I think it'll be probably a topic of a future Feedback Fridays. We kind of get some more sentiment feedback to help us kind of guide some final decisions there. The UI is coming together quite nicely. It's kind of a different version of a sky map. I think we've mentioned in the past as well, narrative-wise, there'll be low-altitude islands, high-altitude islands, and now kind of sky vaults, or you visit the Sky Palace to raid one of the vaults there, and there's a vault themed for every power type, and the vaults may have different treasure inside to be looting, but you loot them identical to an island. So as you explore the vault, you unlock new kind of modifiers that adds new loot drops to the mice, increases loot drops, some new resources to find and collect there, a new tier of trove, the Empyrean Treasure Trove, which I mean, at the moment, I'm definitely going to try to keep that. I think it should work out just fine, is that it always has a Empyrean Jewel inside that trove. As well as the resource Cloudstone, which when you collect enough of them, you can create an adorned Empyrean Jewel out of Cloudstone as well. Or we were exploring, you could use that to purchase additional Empyrean treasure troves, which would always contain a jewel. So kind of mechanically similar, but thematically different. As far as the giveaway, definitely, right at the start there, I want to remind hunters that it is coming on May 25, which was a wall post up, and I think a second one may have rolled out already. If not, it's probably scheduled to go up soon. And party size rainbow maps. Outside of that, I think it's fairly similar to giveaways of past. I can't think of any, at least at the moment. I'm drawing a blank if there is any kind of significant updates to that. So it'll be very much similar to King's Giveaway events of the past. But with the addition of the party size rainbow scroll case, you're going to be able to upgrade rainbow scroll cases into party size at the King's Arms / King's Cart as well. So I forget, what was the cost? I think there's some magic essence and a rare map dust is involved to upgrade it into a party size one. The mystery prize packs too, I think they got a little bit of a tweak. One or two of them maybe got a reward swapped out for something that's a little more interesting in 2021. Rashawn asks, rough month for Ronza? I assume like a rough estimate of when she may arrive, or just, was it a rough month for her this, was May a rough month? Were sales down wherever she's currently touring and trying to sell her merchant wares? I haven't heard from her, so I don't know. I don't know when she'll be visiting next. Ben says, an elite map dust that makes your map harder. That's interesting. The rare map dust makes it more rewarding. The elite map dust just makes it harder. That'd be a little tough to implement in that it would have to change the mice that are on the map. So I think it'd have to be a different system. If we explore the ability to somehow exchange a map, I suspect the easiest way would be through like a shop transaction. Just like the lightning maps are a way to kind of find a more guaranteed Slayer type map. But you have to go to Mousu Picchu and kind of devote some time there. And you know, hey, with enough hunts, eventually I will get a Slayer scroll, a lightning scroll, but they're very, very similar, obviously, not the same thing. So I think it would have to be through a somewhat similar medium as well. You know, we could do something like, what did I say? It was a 2 in 14 chance to get a elite scroll. 1 divided by 0.14. So, you know, if you could exchange 10 scroll cases and some relics or something like that for an elite scroll, then that would be kind of a more predictable means of obtaining that, or something like that, just to spitball. Fritz says, will the party bot, the prestige base, too many acronyms, special luck, effect, prize mice. We're going to dig a little bit deeper. So a couple weeks ago on Feedback Friday, that's something we collected some suggestions on, compiled some notes. I updated that task. We did a little cursory glance, a little bit of preliminary R&D. But it was good to kind of get sentiment from hunters to see what sort of bonuses, if we're just going to pick a few, what are the kind of the big important ones. We're going to do a little deeper dive next week as well, kind of early next week, do a little more testing to see just how feasible that's going to be. So no word yet whether or not those special bonuses are going to be able to be made to work with bonus hunts. It's an awkward way of saying it. But Swiss says, I missed the King's Challenge. That was kind of a fun event as well. One thing we're looking at, we did an audit of all the mini events in the game as well, to be able to kind of do another mini event madness type event. So not quite the same as King's Challenge, but a little different there. Yeah, it's still kind of coming together. I think we're going to firm that up as well next week, so we have some more stuff to share in the coming weeks. Alex says it's always a good month for Ronza. It seems so. When you're selling limited edition wares, she seems to have quite the monopoly on some of that stuff. I'm sure she does well for herself. Dalton says, one annoying thing on the community maps tab on the app is if I'm on page 17 and I want to look at someone's map, when I go back, it says you to page 1. That does sound a little annoying. That feature does kind of need a second pass. We kind of put it out almost as an as-is state to kind of see how much use it was going to get and what kind of suggestions we get. So kind of that's a good indicator that's getting used, especially if you're making it to page 17. There's definitely some use happening. Yuck says, is Big Jack coming soon? That is kind of in the cards as well, but we're kind of seeing how to arrange all the cards and where we're going to slot everything in. Mudkip says, Dave, I heard after giveaway, Ronza will set up pop-up booth shop just in front of the castle. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Thomas says, is a sleepy stone skin on the horizon since slumbering boulder takes so long? Does that one not have a skin? But we'll see. Typically, we look at kind of what's getting a lot of use. And then kind of second to that, also open to sometimes if somebody has inspiration or just has a really cool idea for a skin that would suit a trap, even if it's not being used a whole lot, it might still kind of come out as a sort of collectible trap skin. Or even if it's a trap where, hey, not a whole lot of people quite have it. But if, hey, the inspiration's there. But primarily for the most part, 9 times out of 10, we try to look at which ones are getting a lot of use and don't already have an overabundance of skins. So I'm sure it'll kind of come up on the list and get its turns at some point in the future. Final Heart says, would you consider giving hunters the access key parts to Palace retroactively based on the number of paragons they've caught? It's something we're chatting over a little bit. At the moment, it requires you to take on a new feat to build a new upgrade for your airship to be able to get to the Sky Palace. So from a narrative perspective, you haven't done that thing yet, and that's why you can't go there. What about adding a new Oculus level 10 where Paragons loot Adored Empyrean Jewels? That was another kind of idea brewing a little bit. Ultimately, one nice thing about the Palace, though, is that you're allowed to go there before you have a level 9 Oculus, and so it kind of spreads that out a little bit. Now, you'll be a little better off with a level 9 Oculus, always it still has benefits to it. But kind of wanted to make the Palace accessible before Oculus level 9, but kind of one idea that was floating around, and I don't know if it'll kind of get picked up, was to have the Palace allow you to build a level 10, but didn't quite fit in nicely, so it got a little maybe too complex. And on that note, I'm caught up on the chat, if you can believe it or not. It might be a good time to wrap things up. Unfortunately, we don't have a QAR, a question answer reward, as Giorgio often refers to it, as Larry's gift links are still undergoing some maintenance. Larry's under there, he's got his overalls on, a wrench out, and he's tuning up those links. But at the moment, they're not working correctly, so there's some maintenance we have to do to fix those up and get them back up and running smoothly. So unfortunately, we will have to forego the traditional QAR. KDM 48, as per traditions. We'll just say whatever theoretical question we're going to ask, the answer is likely 48. Ryan says, Larry links are still not working. Oh, snap. Yeah, I kind of dug into it a little bit. It's slowly bumping up the list of priorities. I know I certainly miss it. I have fun making them and sharing the link on Feedback Friday. And definitely, we have a lot of positive comments on Facebook wall posts as well by including those as well. So it seems like hunters have a lot of fun, even just with, a small little reward as well. It's kind of a fun way to come back, load the game back up, sound your horn. So it's slowly making its way up the priority list, but it's probably going to require a couple weeks and like 1 or 2 devs to kind of get in there and fix it up. So we're just having a hard time finding the time to slot that time slot in. Slot that time slot in. He better have something good when he is back, says Limbaugh. All right, I'll pass along the message to Larry the Friendly Knight. He better pull out a big heavy hitter link for sure. QAR for Dave, what are the contents in the Platinum Mysterious Rift box? Yeah, we did discuss it in the not too distant past. I feel like that doesn't get said as much as not too distant future. It ultimately kind of went back and forth a little bit, but settled on not adding a Platinum box. So they're mysterious in that they don't exist. She says, you feel regular dragon banes are too expensive for the ore and glass on the islands. Imagine hardly anyone buys those. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't know if we don't have logging on that particular thing to see kind of what the most popular ones are, but it's roughly in line with Masu Picchu in terms of the average number of hunts it would take to accumulate those and then be buying dragon banes from the shop. That said, Masu Picchu's marginally better. It's a little more dragon themed, so. But anyway. Larry got kidnapped. That might be a fun narrative for eventually if we bring the links back. But he's still there. He's still giving you tips in the game. All right. Well, I will wrap things up now, hunters. Thank you so much for joining me today. Next week, is there anything? What's going on next Friday? Is there a holiday? Does anyone have the day off that I'm unaware of? No, it's not a holiday. All right. It is a long weekend, though. All right, so we'll likely see you next Friday. I don't quite know if it'll be Jacob or myself, but one of the two of us are likely to see you next week. So thanks again for joining me. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, afternoon, evening, weekend ahead, and happy hunting. I will return just for Scrib Dev. Scrib, how you doing? Good to see you today. Thanks for stopping by. 2 weeks ago, I think you again chimed in with the collectibles that can no longer be obtained, and that helped bump it up on the priority list as well. So I did sit down one afternoon. I had about an hour, maybe 90 minutes at the end of my day, and I'm like, I don't quite know what to do next. So I pulled that out of the pipeline and did a collectibles audit. Went through every collectible item in the game, audited how is it obtained, identified the ones that can no longer be obtained, such as Larry's sandwich. I believe there's a candy apple from Halloween. Don't have the list in front of me, but there was a handful of other ones as well. Brainstormed with the team there of how to incorporate these back into the game. Some of them have been earmarked for their respective event. Like there may have been a Great Winter Hunt collectible that hasn't been around for about 4 years, and that will now appear as a new kind of paid gift that you can send to friends using gold. Other ones are going to be kind of shifted and repurposed and just be kind of permanent new loot drops in the game. So if I recall correctly, Larry's sandwich is going to be dropped by the cook mouse going forward if you do not already have a Larry's sandwich, as an example. And unless I'm really mistaken, but I have a pretty vivid memory of that's how that went put in, but I have to go find the patch note. And I think that's going to be earmarked for sooner rather than later. We did that in another branch that is scheduled to kind of go through some testing and get released probably, I don't know, maybe alongside the giveaway. We'll see. I'm not quite sure when that would come out yet. But we audited all the collectibles. I'm going to see if I got them all, actually, here. Maybe we list them off. We'll crowdsource this with hunters. This is bonus feedback Friday here. I got to find it. I have no idea where it is. Where's this spreadsheet? Let's just search. Search is king. Google doesn't want you to use folders anymore. There's just search. Why would you need folders in Drive? Oh, what was it called? Collectibles audit. There you are. Why are there two of you? That scares me. Where's this one? Not that one, probably. What? Really? Well, okay, hopefully this is the right one. So the missing collectibles that we identified, and let me make this so I can see the chat at the same time, would be beneficial. Just when you think stream ends, snap, someone give Mudkip the award for best joke of stream. So there was the Sooty Stocking, the Raw Diamond, the Posing Mouse action figure, Candy Apple, Spooky Mask, Toy Ronza Ship, Slap Cat, Plush Terrible Twos, the Spring Toy, a Smashed Teddy Bear, Halloween Treasure Map. That's not correct. Never mind the Halloween Treasure Map. The Teddy Bear, another weird item, and Larry's Sandwich. So some of those are legacy items. Yeah, the Halloween Treasure Map just snuck into the game, but it technically doesn't exist. Oh dear, what am I doing? I'm causing all sorts of mayhem in this spreadsheet. And so a lot of them are going to be added as new kind of gift items in their associated event. Some of them as kind of drops. So for instance, the Candy Apple, a next Halloween event, there's kind of a little to-do. We already put it into the milestone for the 2021 Halloween event, is to add it as an uncommon drop from the Candy Cat mouse if you do not already own a Candy Apple. Any other special ones here? The Terrible Twos plushie to add as an uncommon drop from the Terrible Twos, again, if you do not already have one. What's this? The Spring Toy drop from the Present Mouse if you don't have one. I don't know how the... Where's the Teddy Bear? The Teddy Bear, though, is going to be added if you do not already have one. Or actually, no, I think this one's going to be you can get multiples. As a rare drop from the bear, the polar bear, and the red bear mouse. They will drop the teddy bear, and then you can smash it to make a smashed teddy bear. Although, why would you, you horrible monster who smashed a loving teddy bear? So there's a collectibles update, Scrib. Thanks for popping in and reminding me there. And Scrib is excited you can finish off the collectibles. I'm sure many others as well. So that's a bit of an awkward thing that's been on profiles for a bit. There's these collectibles. And if you missed the one time they're out, they're technically not limited edition, but some of them haven't been in the game. I think the oldest one was 2014 was the last time it was around. Actually, I closed that too soon because I even think I jotted down when it was last appeared. What was the oldest one? Yep, the 2014 Great Winter Hunt was the last time you could get a raw diamond. The 2015 Great Winter Hunt was the last time you could get a posing mouse action figure. So those situations will be rectified. 2016 Halloween had 2 of them. 2014 birthday event was the last time you could get a slap cat. So rejoice, you will be able to finish your collectibles. You can collect all your collectibles in the not too distant future. Keep your eye out. That'll be a patch note item when that update comes out. But I don't quite know the release date of when that little bundle of updates is going to go out. Could we see the posing mouse in and amongst the other action figures during the birthday event? That's a pretty good suggestion as well. Although I think because, look at this, we're doing some live brainstorming here. Let me see, how was the posing mouse action figure? It wasn't quite the same as those other action figures. It was actually a Great Winter Hunt item and not a birthday item, so kind of wanted to keep that as part of the Great Winter Hunt package as well. As well as those other action figures, it was a little bit of a joke in that they were meant to be kind of poorly made, mass-produced toys, and that's why you would slowly accumulate too many of them. And they were kind of meant to be like, what do I do with all these? I can't get rid of them. And the manufacturers were like, oh, keep moving them, keep moving them, keep moving them. And Mudkip as well is rejoicing at, yes, the return of the slap cat. Yeah, I hadn't seen that in a while. It's actually a cute little collectible, so that was neat to bring back. All right, for real this time, I will say goodbye. Once again, thanks for joining me, hunters. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Happy hunting. Good luck in the hunt, and we'll see you next time.
You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me, I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it, soft and furry. Oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap.